Good evening, everyone. How are y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Okay, my name is Tarsha Henderson. I'm the president of the Lufkin Area Alumnae Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. We would just like to take this time to thank you all for joining us tonight for our community forum on civic education. One of Delta's programmatic thrusts is political awareness and involvement. So our goal today is just for you to gain a deeper understanding on the local government and how it works. So, and I want you to think about while you're here that the more knowledgeable that you are, the more informed decisions you're able to make. So once again, I just want to say thank you all for joining us tonight. I want to thank the city council members because we would not be able to put this on without them. So thank you again. Thank you all that's in the audience tonight. And next we will have Charles Etta, and she will do a prayer for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we please take a moment to bow for a word of prayer? Heavenly Father, we come before you today with grateful hearts as we gather for this community forum. We thank you for the spirit of cooperation and shared purpose that has brought us together. We pray that you bless the leaders of our city government and others whose commitment to public service and community upliftment shines brightly. We ask for your wisdom to guide our discussions and interaction. May every word spoken, idea shared, and questions imposed be rooted in love, respect, and a genuine desire to see our city flourish for the benefit of the citizens we serve. May it be a time of fruitful dialogue, strengthened partnerships, and impactful action. Lord, empower us to identify ways we can work together effectively to serve the needs of our community, especially the most vulnerable among us. Instill in us a renewed passion for civic engagement and a united vision for a future defined by equity, prosperity, and peace. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I want to share, well, if I can get my clicker right.
Which slide are you trying to get to?
The second one. There you go.
Okay.
Anyway, this is not my usual spot to use my clicker, so please forgive me. I would like to share a little bit of information with you about the structure of city and local government. I've thought for a long time that one of the ways that we could have more people participate in our local government, actually be in this chamber on the nights when we have city council meetings, would be if we could have a little bit more understanding of how local government works. So I don't know if you know much about the history of our town, Lufkin, Texas. It was founded really based upon the commerce of the region back in 1882. I checked the World Wide Web. It's named after Abraham P. Lufkin. You ever heard of him? He was a cotton merchant and was closely associated with the railroad. Mm-hmm. So Lufkin was really founded based on commerce. And like most places in Texas at that time, it was about places where people could make a living, where people could get a job. And so Lufkin grew as a result of that. It was incorporated in October 15th of 1890. And the legislature is responsible for incorporation. When I first started teaching about local government, I met city manager Paul Parker. Some of you may know him. Mm-hmm. Mr. Parker was the city manager, and he loved to talk. He would come and share with my classes, and he had a real different kind of wit. I couldn't always tell when he was serious. So anyway, he would come and he would speak to my students, and I would ask him how things were going at city government. He would say, oh, we operate at the pleasure of the legislature. And I didn't really know what that meant. But later I found out that it is the Texas legislature that directs the actions of local city government. And so that means every 2 years after the legislature has completed its work, we may have laws that can absolutely change the way our local government operates. I don't know if you know, but this last legislative session, they passed over 800 new statutes. And I'm not going to share all of those with you. But I can tell you where you can find them. It's called the Texas Legislative Reference. There's a little handout that I'll give you when you leave that has a web address where you can access information about any of the recent laws that were passed by the Texas legislature. Some of them had to do with taxes, which the city is always concerned about what that might look like. Some of them were just, things related to education, related to law enforcement, related to elections, so there's several different topics. But anytime the legislature does its work, potentially it can impact what happens with city government. So when our city was incorporated, there was a boom that was happening in the state. There were lots of cities that were being formed. So the legislature put in a provision. They had an amendment that was offered in 1912 to allow a city to be either a home rule or general law, depending on its size. And Lufkin was big enough to be a home rule. So what does that mean? It means we can have a charter. It means we as citizens can participate in the things that we would like to see become a part of our city government. We could come to the meetings here and offer our comments, and it might actually impact the things that eventually become law. So being a home rule rather than a general law is a good thing. And fortunately for us, we have leadership here who's done a great job over the years, but I think they could probably do more if they had input from the citizens in our community. So having a home rule and having a city charter allows the city to decide how we want to be organized, what type of administration we'd like to have. There's 2 or 3 different types. One is what we call a mayor council. And with a mayor council, you have an elected mayor, which we do have an elected mayor already, and then you have a council that runs the city. Or you could have what's called a commission. And a commission is just where you have a number of different groups that are organized to run the city. Or you could have a council manager. And with a council manager, you're able to hire someone who has expertise in administration to make a lot of the administrative decisions for the city. And so Lufkin has a council manager form of government. It allows us to have someone who handles a lot of the day-to-day administrative duties, but we also have our mayor who handles a lot of the other duties for the city. So that's probably more than you wanted to know about city government, but I think that one of the things I hope you will get from tonight is that your presence is important. Your presence can make a difference in what our city does. Part of that means coming and participating, but you also want to know the people, right? You want to know the people who represent you. And so from teaching my classes, I often find my students say, well, I don't know who my councilman is, and I don't know what ward I live in. So we hope tonight to give you a little information about the ward system for Lufkin. We have 6 wards, and each one has a single representative elected from that ward to represent you. And we want you to know a little bit about the area of Lufkin that they represent. And that way, before you leave tonight, you'll know who your representative is. So I'm going to ask my other hostess to come up and introduce the members of the council. Samaya.
Hello everyone, my name is Amaya. I would just like to ask for us to give a round of applause for these great people behind us giving us amazing information. So, you may see that not everyone is here and we are not requiring everyone to talk. However, this is a time for you to share information with your community. So starting off with Ward 1, this is going to be your central ward. The elected representative for Ward 1 is Angela Hobbs Spencer. This includes city streets north to Kurth Drive, east to Regay Street and Lois Lane, east to Highway 69 North, and west to Homer Alto Road.
Thank you. In the heart of Lufkin, downtown Lufkin, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So first and foremost, I am Angela Hobbs Spencer, and thank you all for coming out on this evening. I am humbled and honored to be able to serve as the Ward 1 City Council member. Long story short, when I think about life and how life comes full circle, I remember as a child walking from home to come downtown, to go to Perry's, to go to Pines Theater, to go to the fair. I mean, different stores that used to be here. I'm sure some of these names, some of you may remember and some don't. But I say that to say it's amazing how you can be brought back to from whence you came. So I'm blessed to be here for that. My mantra that I share with the community is that, yes, we are 6 different wards. I happen to be Ward 1, but all 6 of us come together as Lufkin. And I say we are Lufkin, we are one. And unless we work together as one and support each other as one, we will be divided. And as my friend just spoke a prayer, a house divided cannot stand. And Lufkin wants to stand, and it's been standing. And I believe it's going to even stand even taller as the years continue to go by. But I am here for you. If you need anything, my number is available. And you can also call the city to obtain our information. But I am here. We are Lufkin. We are one. And if you want to know more about me, www.angelaforlufkin.com. Thank you.
Let's go ahead and give her a round of applause. And for Ward 2, we have Robert Schenkel. This is north to Ellen Trout Zoo, east to Lufkin Avenue, east to Twin Oaks, Lone Star Road, and west to South Timberland.
I want to thank everyone for being here tonight, taking our time to come and listen to us speak for a little bit. So, Councilman Robert Schenkel, never thought I would be in politics at all. And God has a way of putting people in position, but I have a heart to serve the people. And so I'm just the opposite of my position. I don't like talking, being in front, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do in order for things to happen. So, been on city council for a while. I think I'm the longest one here tonight. Served up under 4 city managers, 3 mayors, and I love every bit of it because it's giving back to the community and being a voice for the community and for the people that doesn't have a voice. And so that's what I'm all about. Serve on a lot of boards and helping nonprofits, but it's all about us coming together, making the city a better place for everyone to live, play, and work. And so that's what I'm all about. I'm still eager to serve and to do things in the community and help everyone that need to be helped. Thank you all for coming out tonight.
And for Ward 3, which is going to be your East Ward, the elected representative for this is Miss, correct me if I'm wrong, Kimberly Ablett?
Abelt,
perfect. This
fine.
includes city streets north to East Lufkin Avenue, south to Harmony Hill, east to Leslie Lane, Grace Dunn Park, and south to Fagan Drive.
Thank y'all so much for being here tonight and taking your evening out. You'll notice on my ward, the thing that stands out is I have a lot of carve-outs, and that's because the majority of my district is commercial. And so there are left room to carve out to make sure that we include all of our citizens. So I go out past the loop and include some other areas. And so it was exciting to learn. You may not, I've recently been elected to this position, and I am old school. I'm a prairie girl from Kansas that grew up, oddly enough, coming to Lufkin every other summer growing up. When my husband asked me out for a date in Oklahoma City during college, he said he was from Lufkin. He had to go get his car registered. I said, I've been to Lufkin. Ain't nobody from Lufkin. In the 70s, you would go see your family, your friends, and that's where you stayed. You didn't go out and do. And so I was like, yeah, nobody's from Lufkin. I've been there. And anyway, we came back here and fell in love with Lufkin. And I mean, genuinely just both dove in and do what we do. We are business owners. We have pharmacies, one in Tyler and one here in Lufkin. I think that's the perspective I bring, is that ownership and the way we have, like we've had our pharmacy in Tyler 25. We came here 5 years ago and bought my in-laws pharmacy as well. Our protocol is Christ came and died for all people, and we will serve all people. I don't care where your tattoos are, your piercings, the color of your hair. It doesn't matter to me. I'm gonna, we're not just a diverse community in culture and ethnic background. We're a very diverse community medically. And so when my friend walks in with HIV, I know their profile. They still get a hug because I know. And knowledge is, and what I would share with you that I come with is, knowledge is power for those who believe they get to make decisions. We live in a culture where people believe life happens to them. And for those people, knowledge is paralyzing. And so as a city council, one of our roles is to ensure that we are not paralytic, that we all have a voice, and knowledge is power, and we need to make the best decision in every case, whether it's our ward or somebody else's ward, because whatever we do in one ward impacts all of us. And my constituents need to know that I'm going to care for them just as the same as I'm going to care for Angela's ward. And so I am enjoying serving. I'm enjoying learning. The city does a beautiful job. After being elected, I had 2 days of orientation. So they don't just throw you in and hope you survive. They really do a quality job of informing you. And I hope you will participate past this evening. I hope you'll come back.
Thank you. That's good.
And for Ward 4, that elected official is going to be Miss Kim Ogden. This ward includes city streets north to Harmony Hill, east to Fuller Springs Drive, south to FM 58 and College Drive, and west to Highway 59 South. However, she's not with us tonight, but we're going to give her a round of applause for the great work that she does. And on to Ward 4, we have Mr. Jimmy Ford. He is over city streets north to Old Union Road, east to Tom Temple Drive, west from Loblolly Lane, and south to Highway 59 and South 1st Street. And we're just going to go ahead and give him a round of applause as well. And Ward 6, we have Adam Lawther. This ward includes city streets north to North Regay Street, east to 1st Street and Janeway, west to West John Redditt, and south to Old Union Road. And we're going to give them a round of applause as well. And I also see that we have Mr. Brian Bray with us, as well as Miss Christie. Are there any words y'all would like to say to the audience as well tonight?
I think.
Oh, you go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I see Mayor Hicks' picture up there.
They're moving to me slowly.
Okay.
Saving me lots of information.
Saving the best for last.
Yeah.
I understand.
Give ahead.
My role is much different than those that you just heard from. I'm actually a hired employee. I get paid to come to work every day, whereas your elected officials serve for free. There are some cities where you have compensation, and I'm sure Ms. Wilson would be happy to have that conversation with you about strong mayor form of governments and other things. But as a reminder, because a lot of people don't realize that your council members here in Lufkin do this because they want to, not because they get anything monetary out of it. And Mr. Gee, unfortunately, is not able to be here this evening. And I work for Mr. Gee. Mr. Gee is the only employee that is hired directly by council. So as the city manager, he's the boss of all staff, and I'm just one of the staff that works for him. That's kind of my role here.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Christy Skillern. I am the city attorney, so I've been here since 2022. I'm the legal department for the city itself, and my client is actually the city of Lufkin, which sounds odd that it's not an actual person, but I am hired by the city manager, Mr. Gee, but I'm actually one of the few employees that's also approved by the city council. So my role is to review all contracts. I write all ordinances and resolutions for City Council. I attend the meetings of Planning and Zoning when I'm able to, all the City Council meetings, and to make sure that the meetings are conducted legally through the Open Meetings Act, as well as public information requests from the public, and make sure those are also transparent and followed, and that the law is followed. I have done some very interesting things as city attorney. I was instrumental in starting a teen court program that Dr. Bonner and others in council were wanting, and it's been an honor to do that. We have about 50 kids every year that participate in our teen court that hear teen court citations, and the teen jury assesses community service hours that they have to complete. So I'm very proud of that program with city administration and city council support. This is our third year with the teen court program. I have approved such things as a UPS slip for venom for our zoo so that we can get snake venom in case anyone is ever bit by a snake in the city. I had to sign that requisition with UPS. I handle a lot of employment-related issues. We have about 400 employees with the City of Lufkin, and so many departments. I don't, 20, how many, Mr. Ray, departments?
We just counted them.
27.
27 departments, and which includes our zoo. So any kind of employment-related issues. I also consult with police and fire on any issues that may come up. I am someone that they call at 4 a.m. when there's some kind of officer-involved shooting or anything that the city might be liable for as the city. I am someone that would come out at whatever time that I'm needed. So we're also, I will tell you about city administration, including our mayor and assistant city manager and city manager. They have basically an open door policy that a lot of people may not be aware of. They are available to talk to whomever, and I am as well. We get calls all the time from citizens with issues, and my goal is, as a public servant, to answer questions and try to direct people. If I can't help them, direct them to the people that can. Because I think some people forget that we are all public servants when we work for the city. And we have a wonderful city and a wonderful city council, and it's just an honor to be serving in this way. Thank y'all for coming.
Thank you.
And now we're going to move on to Mayor Higgs. He will be talking about how the city manager and council collaborate.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here with so many familiar faces in our community, and I want to take the opportunity to thank you for taking time out of your evening to be here. It seems like more and more in society we have less people that are civic-minded or engaged with what's happening in our community, so it's a good feeling to know that you guys have enough of an interest to be here tonight and to understand more about your city government. I grew up here in Lufkin. I went to Lufkin High School and attended Stephen F. Austin over in Nacogdoches. I'm in the real estate development business here in town. I have my lovely wife and 3 daughters. My wife also grew up here in Lufkin, and we're proud to raise our kids here in Angelina County. And I hope one day they may want to come back to Lufkin once they go off to college or whatever they decide to do, and raise their families here. And I want opportunities for them, just like everyone in this room and this entire community. The reason that I ran for mayor, I served on the council for 6 years, and that was a interesting time to learn about how our city government works. You oftentimes think you want to make certain changes within the government, but once you're a part of the government, you realize more about how the government works, and sometimes it's not as you may think it works. I'm glad that Ms. Wilson explained the difference, and I don't know if I've ever sat anywhere where anyone did that, and that's great, because we all go home and watch television shows, and you think that the mayor is able to get people out of jail and call and do essentially whatever he wants to do, and that's not the form of government we have in Lufkin. At the end of the day, your council is a group that governs the city, and more than anything, we are policymakers for the future. So we do have a city manager and an administrative team here that does an excellent job in conducting the daily business of our city and moving our city forward, and we put our trust in them to carry out the duties and responsibilities of the city each and every day. It is very important that we maintain a positive attitude and a positive sort of working mechanism, if you will, in our local government, because that's how we get things done. And as long as I've been a part of the city council, we have always worked together, and it makes this job a lot more exciting and something that's beneficial to be a part of, because I've heard of local governments that don't work well together and nothing ever gets done. So things that are very important to me as your mayor is to have a first and foremost, a positive community. It's important that we listen to everyone's voice in this community. As Ms. Abolt said, doesn't matter your race, what you look like, what your history is, you're a part of this community, and we want you to be a part of this community, and we want you to vocalize your opinions. And I tell people, I govern based on a majority of what this community wants. There's things that I want, desires I want, and things that I've seen that I want to do for our community, but at the end of the day, it's truly about our citizens and what kind of community they want to have, what type of future they see for Lufkin, and it's our responsibility to carry that out. But I will say it's been a real pleasure for me as your mayor to work with this council. We've got a great bunch here. We're very diversified, and people that come from many different walks of life and have different opinions. And I think that's very beneficial as well. If you have 7 people here that all grew up the same way and all went to the same college and all feel the same way about our community, well, we're not accomplishing as much as this council is able to accomplish. But I want to say more than anything, it is so important that we remain positive as a community and work together as we move forward. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening. I'm looking forward to answering questions and just having a conversation about our community and where we want things to go. So thank you.
And now we're going to jump to community engagement and how you can get involved with Ms. Spencer.
Yes, thank you so very much again. The topic of community engagement and how residents can get involved can be broad, but I'm going to kind of simplify it for you. When you look at the word community, and if you were to break it up, I'm so glad my bishop is here who always teaches us the Hebrew language and where words originate from. So this is not the Hebrew, this is the Hobbs brew, okay? So when you look at the word community, the first part of it is you need to come. We need to come into the room. We need to attend meetings. We need to be involved. Yes, you can depend on us for information, but it's so important if you take the time to come yourselves as well. Second part of that word is to unite. When we come together as one. We may not, as he just stated, may always agree, but we take the time, we listen, we learn from one another. Because sometimes you may say something that I didn't think about and say, that makes a lot of sense. And then the why, I just kept it simple. Come unite, y'all, since that's a Texas thing. Y'all just come on together. But no, honestly, for community engagement, being involved, you need to be present. First, you must come to the room. You must call 936-633-CITY to learn about the different public meetings and opportunities for you to get involved. Here, as the mayor said, we have a very active, diverse council, and honestly, there is always something going on, from town hall meetings to forums to community engagement opportunities. We want you to come, just as you're here tonight. We live this, we've learned this, we've studied this, we've read the charter front and back, but we want you to know as well. And as he also stated, Ms. Wilson did an excellent job with explaining just the basics of who we are. Last but not least, I would like to say to you, when you see a tree, you can look at a tree and you realize that it may be a beautiful, strong tree, but unless those roots are nourished, that's how I look at local government, city government. Unless our roots are nourished, our city council is together, standing as one, creating positive impact for a positive return, that tree is not going to survive, not for long anyway. So it all starts from the bottom. And with this week being MLK week, one of my favorite quotes is that we all can be great because we all can serve. And how can we serve? By getting involved. So as we have upcoming events, upcoming opportunities, I think Christmas weekend was one of the biggest with the city of Lufkin for me. On Friday night, we had Rudolph, the reindeer. That was the most amazing opportunity to see. I had never witnessed that in person. But then on Saturday, we had the parade, and then on Sunday, the church event. We're truly a community. I tell my friends on the East Coast, we're like Cheers, where everybody knows your name. Everybody knows your name. And people will come up to you and say, Mayor, I've been in the store. You're that woman on city council. You're that woman. I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? But people recognize us. They remember our names. They know us because we are present. I have to admit, Mr. Schenkel, everybody knows Mr. Schenkel. He's here, he's there, he's everywhere. Just today, we've been chamber meeting this morning, then St. Augustine for a DECOG meeting, then back here. Why are we doing this? Because we're doing it because of you, because we believe in you, we believe in this community, and you voted for us. And that's the last thing I want to say. And I know, Ms. Wilson, that's your hoorah. Everyone must register to vote. In order for your voice to be heard, you must register to vote. We are a nonpartisan group of people, but you must register to vote. If you need assistance with that, how can you get assistance? Speak to the registrar. Speak to any of these ladies here. Many of them are certified registrars as well. But in order for your voice to be heard, you must be registered to vote. So without further ado, I thank you so very much for allowing me to share with you about community engagement and opportunities. And I promise you there is always something going on for you to get involved. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Be sure and have everyone recognize that Mr. Gee is actually our city manager, and we do have a slide for him.
Okay.
I just can't seem to pull it up. Yeah.
You like? It's there you.
So obviously he's our city manager, and Mr. Bray is our assistant city manager.
Ms. Wilson, can I point out one additional thing? Every month, he meets with each of the city council members. We have about an hour meeting with him to discuss agendas, things that are going on. So even though she said she was thrown into the water after just 2 days of training, honestly, we have ongoing training. So when we get an agenda, a packet of information, we have an opportunity to be taught about that which we are going to be making decisions about.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Yes, ma'am.
We just have one other thing we'd like to do tonight. When you came in, hopefully someone asked you if you had a question you wanted to offer about city government. And we got a few questions.
Okay.
I'm going to ask these of our council. So any one of you can answer. I promise you they're things you know. The first question is, what are the main revenue sources for the city? That sounds like a Mr. Bray question. I don't know.
Trying to keep this as a simple answer. It's property tax and sales. Let me step back. There are different funds within a city. And so what oftentimes people look at is the general fund, which is the majority of our fund, and that's funded by property tax and sales tax. So we have approximately 450 employees that operate on a $80 million annual budget. Out of that $80 million, about 60 of it is funded by, 60 million is funded by sales tax, property tax, and fees. That other portion is called a revenue fund. So your water bill, your sewer bill, your solid waste, or your trash bill, those are dictated to us that this is by the state. One of the things Ms. Wilson said earlier is that 800 bills that were passed just this last legislation, we have to know those things. So the state says your enterprise funds have to only charge what it costs to operate. While I would much rather my water bill be lower, I promise. I don't want higher property tax. I don't want a higher sales tax. But when it comes to things like your water bill, your sewer bill, your trash bill, we are handcuffed to only be able to charge what it costs to operate. Those are our main revenue sources: fees, for going to the zoo, going to the rec center. Sales tax, you all know what that is, you know what property tax is, and then your fees for the sanitary, water, etc. That's how cities are funded.
May I add a caveat to that, just because
Sure.
it's part of tax explanation? You know, we all think about property taxes and we think about our home, and I told you, as a business owner, I bring another caveat to the table. As a business owner, and when you're choosing where you do business, you want to keep, I'm going to do a plug for independent business. I pay taxes not just on the property that my building sits on, I pay taxes on everything inside my building. Every single drug on the day that taxes are due, I have to pay taxes on that. So your big box type places, they have agreements where they are a warehouse structure. Okay? So they don't pay per se those same taxes. So per capita on square foot, your independent businesses are paying more. So know that as you're making your choices, the value, it's the whole voting thing. Your vote, your dollar is your vote. And so just a heads up on the property tax side.
Thank you very, very much. Great answer, by the way. Okay, the next question we have is, how are zoning and development decisions made?
I guess I could speak to that,
Okay.
being that I was a part of planning and zoning, and then y'all jump in and help me, Christy. So when a person or a business would like to have their property rezoned, everything goes through the planning and zoning department here. They meet bi-monthly, and they discuss and review all applications that come through. There are various steps that have to be taken before information is even presented to the P&Z board. We review items twice, and then after this reviewed, then it comes to City Council, and it's reviewed another 2 times again. So nothing is taken lightly. So one thing that I'm loving about our new planning and zoning representative, and I'm pretty sure this was in existence before perhaps as well, that when property is being rezoned now, you can, for whatever reason, there's signage, so you can drive by and see, oh, this is now being changed from residential to commercial, or commercial to residential, whatever the story may be. But what's even better is you look online, and I was looking at Josh back there, when you look online at our website, the city website, our agenda is there, and it tells you the different topics that we're going to talk about during City Council meeting, and if there's an area that is being rezoned, that information is there. But there are specific guidelines that we have to follow, and I'm going to give that to Christy just to say if we don't follow them, then there are consequences that we would face, correct?
Yes, absolutely. And just rewinding a little bit, the city actually has a comprehensive plan for zoning. As Ms. Bonner's nodding her head, and Mr. Schenkel knows, because they were probably on the committee for the comprehensive plan for Lufkin, and that's how the zoning areas took shape. So the city planner, Miss Elena Helton, when a request comes in for zoning or even a special permit, she looks at it to determine if the developer has followed our ordinances. That's the first step. Then if they have, she presents it to Planning and Zoning for their decision. Now, Planning and Zoning is what we call an advisory board. So they make a recommendation to City Council. Now, not everything that goes to Planning and Zoning has to go to City Council. It just depends what it is. For example, an initial site plan, that's just the very first thing a developer files. There's certain things in our ordinances they have to do when they file a site plan for a new business. That is strictly a Planning and Zoning decision. It does not go to City Council. But any kind of zone change or zone request of a change, it's normally initiated by, of course, a developer in the city that wants to do something with property that maybe has not been used before, or maybe was used for another purpose. And so the city has been working very hard, especially city administration and the planning department, to be more transparent. So not only are there now signs erected for zoning changes, but it's published in the newspaper, which by law and statutes, it has to be published for a certain amount of time before the planning and zoning hearing. And the Lufkin Daily News is our publisher of those notices. and that's required. So there's certain statutory steps that have to be taken before planning and zoning even meets. And then city council decides if they want to accept the recommendation of planning and zoning for that piece of property or not. And they have the final word on how things are zoned, and especially with zone changes.
Good. Thank you very much.
The third piece to that, public comment during our
Yes.
meetings. If a person has comments that they would like to make for us to hear before a decision is reached, there's an opportunity on the agenda for public comment in regards to those.
Yes, and I forgot to mention another notice. The city sends out notices to all property owners within 200 feet radius of the property at issue. So they're also given written and an opportunity to object or agree to a zone change request. So there's several steps that are taken before a zone request even makes it to city council.
Ms. Wilson, something that I've been in city government for 24 years and worked in 3 different cities, and so I've been doing this a while, and I've been doing it because it's a passion and I like doing it, but something that I've heard for years and years and years is my voice doesn't count. Whether it's what Ms. Spencer was saying about register to vote, yes. But then when it comes to what Ms. Skilleran was just saying about that 200-foot notice, if you ever receive a letter in the mail that says, hey, check this box if you agree, check this box if you disagree, and then you don't have to write an explanation, you could just simply say, don't want it, sign it, send it. Their votes matter in that regard as well. Your voice matters, because if 20% of the surrounding property owners oppose the zone change, it gives us a whole different criteria that we have to follow. So one of the themes you've heard from all of the elected officials up here this evening, and Ms. Wilson, is your involvement really does matter. And without your involvement, we just have to go from those that we hear from. Mayor Hicks said, one of the things that I've done is I do what is best for the whole from those people that we hear from. Well, if you don't tell him, how does he know?
And if you believe in something, it's just as important. If you only show up when it's a naysay, then the naysay always wins. And you say, well, why didn't we get this? Well, you didn't show up to say yes. There were more in the room that showed up to say no. So it matters every month, not just when it's aggravating you.
But I did forget to mention a little bit about the legalities of it all. So a developer, a property owner, has a right in a permit. That is an actual right that they have. And if they follow our ordinances, there is some limitation on what we can do if they were following our ordinances. So we have to make sure that we're treating everyone consistently and fairly in that entire process. Because if we make an exception for one developer and not another, that's not fair, and we could subject the city to liability as far as a lawsuit. And one of my jobs is to try to prevent the city or any of its employees or council or anyone from being sued, and making sure we're following all the rules and ordinances that are already in place.
Thank you so much. We'll have one more question. Whoever would like to take it. How does the city provide essential services? That's an easy one.
That's actually a very complicated question, because to answer how we provide it, I don't know if I could do that in the time we have remaining, because it would talk about everything that we do pretty much. Essential services, what really comes down to it, a municipality is charged with only doing a couple of things. Things that we provide, such as a library, recreation center, those aren't essential services. Convention center, not an essential service. The functions that are essential services are, I'm sure, what's one of them?
Infrastructure.
Water.
You know the answer.
Emergency.
Water.
Okay, water. What's another one?
Electricity.
Now, some cities provide electricity. We're not one of those. So while that's an essential service, it's not our mandate. That would be Encore in our region. So we have water. Yes, electricity is one, but that's not us. What else you have? Sewer?
Public safety?
Public safety?
Roads.
Law enforcement?
Law enforcement. That's really what it comes down to. You heard, so it's public safety, police, fire, water, sewer, streets. Pretty much everything else is extra. We don't have to provide those things, but that all goes into quality of life. Do you really want to live in a city where that's all you get? I don't. I've never lived in a city that's like that, and I don't want to ever live in one. But those things also cost money. Remember, we have an $80 million budget, and there is not an extra penny in there. We only present to council, when I say we, so Mr. Gee, his main charge is to provide council with a balanced budget on an annual basis. If he does nothing else, that's what he does. He does a lot more. By no means go back to Mr. Gee and say, Brian said all you do is the budget. That's not what I'm saying. But that is sort of his main charge to do. And then that budget is presented to council. Council sits in an all-day workshop and we go over that budget. And they can pick whatever they want, and we can say, well, if we don't do this, this is the consequence. So there's very little that is actually a want that's in the budget. It's a need, and the majority of it is those essential services.
And Mr. Bray, tell them when we start on the budget for the next fiscal year, which starts in October.
It never ends.
That's right.
I, previous to working here with the city of Lufkin, worked in a city where I oversaw 12 different, well, it varied from 12 to 16 departments, depending on what year we're looking at, because we were always adjusting things. And my directive to those department heads was literally the day that the budget is adopted, you should already know what you're about to research and propose for the next budget. And that's why I joke and say it never ends. But the formal budget process starts. I give directions to the department heads that in February, they should already have their outline and polishing up their pencil so that when it comes to presenting their budget to the finance department, to the city managers, it's all there. So it's adopted, October is when it starts, October 1. By February, they already need to know what they're going to be asking for that next year. And one of the things that Mr. Hicks said or alluded to, government takes time. And it's not because we are slow, it's because we have processes that we have to go through. So if we want to look at doing something that's not in the budget, and we're in January, the next opportunity to have the funds to do it, should it be approved, is October of this year. So think about that. I mean, we're in January. October 1 is the first time we would have the funds in a budget to be able to do it. We don't have just funds that we can say, hey, city council, we really want to do this building over here. Can we have $1.5 million? Well, no, it's not there.
Okay.
Apparently my phone thought I said Siri. I apologize. So I know it's a little bit longer answer, but I felt that was important to kind of understand how we operate.
Well, thanks so much.
Yes, ma'am.
And thank all of you for answering our questions. Obviously, I know it takes a minute. Thank you. Your time. We're going to close out our time together with the chairperson for our Social Action Committee, Dr. Jessica Bonner.
Thank you.
I know Mayor Hicks thought he was through with me.
Would you like this?
I don't think so. Can you hear me? I'm a school teacher. I have a loud enough voice. First of all, I want to thank all of you for coming tonight to gain some knowledge. Thomas Jefferson once said, and believe that he was a part of the founding fathers, the people that we talk about all the time on TV. Thomas Jefferson said, the purpose of education is to have a more informed electorate. And we need to keep that in mind. Informed electorate doesn't always have to be out of school books, textbooks, but tonight was to help you become a more informed electorate. You have the ability to ask questions. You have the ability to have groups come together. I was in your newspaper today, and they had this thing up on the wall about the First Amendment. That's informing the public. We need to learn as a people how to speak up. Just because you ask questions doesn't mean that you are a rabble rouser. Well, I'm one of those. But speak up. But if you don't ask, you won't get the response. That's right. If you don't come to people and say, will you do this? Or how do I do this? You don't have to know all the answers either. You can ask the question, how do I do this? Delta Sigma Theta was founded in 1913 by a group of black women who were just as feisty as they could be. They did not ask permission to be a part of the Women's Suffrage March and they went. Now, they had, at that time, they had to have a male chaperone, which we don't do today. But they were there, and they felt they had a role to play. Their presence made it possible for them to be recognized, and from that, those 22 founders, 22 of those women back in 1913 with their long dresses on, they had a statement to make. And we're still making that statement as Delta Sigma Theta. If you come to one of us, we may not know the answer, but we'll know where to go to get it and find it and bring it back to you. Now, if you don't act on it, you can't come back. But if you don't act on it, then that's your problem. That's not our problem. We're here to provide you with the information. So, thank you for coming. Thank you for wanting to have more information about the city, and I hope this inspires you to want to continue to get information because it's out there. And if you don't access the information, I can't pick up the cup and pour it down your throat. I can only ask you to come. Let us work together, and let us make this a better city. Thank you.
So at this time, we're going to dismiss out to the foyer. We have refreshments for you, and you can also visit with our council. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Oh, Lord.